Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Philly Fan Radio. I'm your host, Jon Myer, along with Dan Palmieri, and let's highlight the Eagles versus the Cowboys. The Eagles now 7-2, and Dan, you're saying that the Eagles absolutely dominated this game from start to finish, with Cooper Rush being their QB, Dak Prescott, who is out, he had hamstring injury, basically, actually, they sucked before he was out, so it didn't even matter.
Yeah, pretty much. I thought they dominated from start to finish. They started out a little slow, which we'll get into, but I mean, I've their defense is just stellar. The defense is just absolutely stifling. Their pass defense is the best I've seen it in a long time, and their rush defense is really good. And I always, in the back of my head, wait for the defense to falter. You know, the old
Typical
adage of,
Eagles fan.
yeah, I always wait for it to just fail. But maybe I'm trying to turn the page on that because their defense is uh, just amazing.
I agree with you. They started out slow, and that seems to be the theme of going on throughout this entire season, and either slow in the first, second, third quarter. But it just seems like they did score a touchdown in the first quarter. In fact, it was a second game where you got first quarter points. So we don't even need to talk about this anymore. In fact, the first quarter was 7-3. I think they did start out a little slow, getting into the rhythm, getting into the things. One of the other thing is the defense for this, and I want to jump into it right away. The defense, 5 turnovers. I mean, they are
Hmm.
absolutely. I just like what Vic is doing now, and I know we've been harsh on him throughout it. We're a typical fan. We're going to be harsh on it. I think their corners, everything is just absolutely amazing. I know Slay, he came in for a couple and then he limped out on some of the injuries, but I think we have some great rookies, some great replacements. I'm absolutely impressed all around with the defense and how they're playing.
Yeah, absolutely. The main thing is that we have a young defense, a young and hungry defense, and I I think we have some real cornerstones for this defense for many, many years to go. Quinion Mitchell is just a lockdown corner. Um, Cooper DeJean, playing the slot, he is he's allowed nothing really, and that's always been our Achilles heel. We're tight ends and slot receivers, and he's been able to lock them down. I mean, in this game, he did a really good job on CeeDee Lamb. CD got his touches only because they throw to him like 40 times a game because he got nobody else. Um, and Slay, Slay is Slay. He's a good corner at this point in his career. He's a good corner. Um, I personally like Isaiah Rogers better, but they're not going to bench him. I mean, he's not a liability out there. Let's just put it that way.
CeeDee Lamb, 10 targets, 6 for 21 yards. That was it. He had that one, his longest one was like 6 yards. And we all thought,
Mm.
oh, here we go with it. I absolutely, first of all, you mentioned Cooper DeJean. The other person I want to talk about, Zach Baun. Once again, he was all over the field, everywhere. He just totally just, it was nice to see him just always, every single game, he's producing. It's not like he's laxing in one of the games. And I saw a stat, and I wish I could pull it up or find it anywhere on the status of our corners. I think at the time of recording this, or even just after the game, they have allowed, I think, either 100 or less than 150 yards this season on everything
Yeah, yeah, and
against their prime receivers. I think there was some extra, I'm talking about like, CeeDee Lamb out there, Chris Olave. They had totally just shut them down.
yeah, Quinion Mitchell. I saw his highest that he allowed in a game was 23 yards. 23 yards. That's incredible. I mean, that's all pro numbers. And I don't know if he'll make the all pro team because the only Achilles heel for him is that he doesn't have any interceptions. But as we all know, you're not going to have interceptions when they're afraid to throw against you. So I shouldn't really be held against him, but I think it will be. But I mean, legitimate defensive player of the year, or defensive rookie of the year at least.
First of all, the interceptions, you're not going to get it. Just like you mentioned, they're not throwing it. In fact, they're avoiding it because he's shutting them down. And I think the defense, the line is getting there, and they're starting to get. I mean, 5 sacks. We actually went into the season in the first few games. Our turnover ratio was hard. We were last in the league. We were not actually producing any turnovers. Now we're actually not last, thank goodness, whatever it is, and the team's doing really well. They're pressuring it. I mean, obviously Cooper Rush. I don't want to discount Cooper Rush though, because last year, I think it was last year that we played him. It was a very tough game. It was in Dallas. It was really hard to get it. So he has played. He has played well against the Eagles, but this time, once again, did it in Dallas, did it in AT&T Stadium, and I do have to comment because this is hilarious. You and I were talking about it before. Can't Jerry Jones invest in some shades or some tinted freaking windows? I mean, Jesus. CeeDee Lamb dropping that in the end zone. That would have been a TD, but he's like, I can't see.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. I mean, all that money in the world, and he can't even invest in some nice, shades or curtains. It's
Though
just,
he invested in those for the Tyson Paul fight instead of his $200 million quarterback. I'm just saying,
which is hilarious because the fight was at night.
I know. Hey, just in case, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Well,
It's just, yeah.
so the total stats for this game, let's talk about it a little bit. The Eagles, in fact, I'm going to go into the quarters and then I'll break down a little bit in our total stats. First quarter, 7-3 Eagles, got their touchdown. It was a 4 plays, 17 yards up the middle, 1 yard touchdown. The time of possession was 1 minute, 47 seconds. Cowgirls got the 3 points. Second quarter, once again, the Eagles got a touchdown, 7-3. I'm like, seems to be a recurring theme. We're now going into the half of 14-6. And then all of a sudden, the Eagles turn it on. 2 touchdowns in the third quarter. We've got, and nothing. Dallas did not score anything else the entire game. In fact, the fourth quarter, 6 points for the Eagles, ending in 34-6. Dallas has been shut down. I don't think they got over like 50 points this season already. Okay, maybe a little, but anyway, they are been totally dominated by everybody. The Eagles 348 total yards to Dallas's 146. I think no, Saquon didn't rush more for that, but we had more rushing yards.
Yeah, and I think the most important thing to note is that the Eagles have a game on Thursday against the Redskins football team, Commanders, whatever the hell you want to call them. And I think with around 9 minutes left in the game, Kenny Pickett came in, so they were able to
Yep.
get some rest.
Yeah,
Able to get some rest.
I like that. In fact, I actually think it was almost the start of the fourth quarter or right around there.
Mm-hmm.
Kenny Pickett came in, and that was perfect because they all needed rest. And before we actually talk about some of the garbage plays in the fourth quarter, because I do want to talk about Will Shipley and everything, because, Saquon, I was not impressed with the run game, not just Saquon, but even Gainwell. I just think for some reason our run game wasn't there. Like, what did he have? I actually have it on the stats. Barkley, 14 attempts for 66 yards. His longest was 11, which we always wait for him to break out, maybe do some hurdles or, whatever. But I just wish there was more. Hurts had 7 for 56. And of course, Hurts had 2 touchdowns himself. And I think that's almost every game because we get so close or he takes it in just at the last few seconds.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he definitely has an instinctual thing for the end zone. I mean, the touch push was there, but he also had that pretty good run into the end zone. And I
What
think the
was your
main
feelings
thing
on the
is,
run game, though? I mean, for this game, I just didn't feel like we had it going.
yeah, I think that they tried to run up the gut too much. They tried to run into the teeth of the defense, which is fine, but it just wasn't there. I didn't see a whole lot of perimeter runs, getting around the edges. And I think that's what hampered them a little bit is we didn't really see too much fullback formation, which I liked in previous weeks because they were able to get a little bit on the edge or run power I. But yeah, the running game wasn't really there. Luckily, they didn't really need it to be there because the Cowboys are just so bad. But yeah, there's room for improvement, but I'd like to see a little more perimeter runs with Saquon moving forward. But I want to go back real quick to the halftime that you said. I think this team, and what do we always say is the the thing that a coach needs to do? What is the sign of a good coach? And that's making adjustments on the fly. And what we're constantly seeing is, unfortunately, we are getting out to some slow starts, and what we're seeing is the team consistently comes out in third quarter and just hammers people. And that's because they made halftime adjustments. And that's something that we honestly haven't seen in a while because the Eagles, we've always talked about whoever they had as a coach, they've been stubborn as hell, where they just run their offense and they don't adjust to what's going on during the game. And I think Kellen Moore, Sirianni, and Vic Fangio are really doing a fantastic job with that.
Well, I'll just say Kellen Moore and Vic Fangio. I mean, Nick's there to just, hey guys, do your thing, thing. But I think the adjustments for defense have been perfect. In fact, I don't have any complaints for defense right now. I mean, they are doing a phenomenal job. Vic's adjusting for stuff. With the offense, I would love to see Jalen get rid of the ball faster. I think he holds it the longest in the league. He's indecisive in some instances. He's not seeing the check down right away or the open man. And I think if when I see them run a clock play like a 2 minute possession, they are fast, decisive, quick, out. I think they just need some of that rhythm sometimes to get some quick play. We don't need. It's either the long ball or the run in some instances with Jalen, and I would like to see some of the shorter ones. Now, with Goddard coming back into the mix, it's always nice to have. Obviously some tight ends. Calcaterra has always been there. Helping him out. Devontae, AJ, but I just think some quick plays for him instead of drop back and hold it for I think as long as was like 6 seconds in that game.
Yeah, I agree. He holds the ball way too long. A lot of the sacks are because he holds the ball for such a significant amount of time. And I just don't think at this point, or maybe at all points, Jalen Hurts' strength is really reading a defense. Now, I'm not going to say he's a one read and run kind of guy. I think he can read a defense, but I think he processes the information a little too slow. And I don't think you'll see people like Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes, they have a cannon for an arm. So they'll be able to fit it into tight windows. So even if they see the read a little bit late, they'll be able to throw it into that window.
Yep.
And I don't think that Hurts knows that he doesn't have an elite arm. So you can see he kind of doesn't trust his reads sometimes. And unless the receiver breaks, pretty consistently open, that's unfortunately he's not going to make the throw. But I agree with you that when they run the hurry up, it's it's so much better because he has a quick read. If the read isn't there, he's got like a maybe two receiver progression, and then he goes. And I think that because you catch the defense off guard, his first read typically is there during these times.
And the other thing to add on to it is I feel like we do the same plays. I don't feel that there's much gimmicks, trickery happening. It just feels like we're either going to run or pass, and the defense knows it, and we're relying heavily on our talent. I saw a post the other day or talking about it is that the Eagles, while we are winning, right, it's because of our talent and not really the play calling that's happening. Our talent is making those play. They're making the adjustments out there. We've got the defense for it. We've got a great offense, but we're just not doing some of the things that you see throughout the league.
Yeah, I'd agree somewhat with that. I mean, our talent is why we're winning games. I mean, that's a pretty silly thing to say that we're not winning because of talent, but um, yeah, I agree that our talent masks a little deficiencies that we might have within the play calling. But I think to say that our talent is the reason why we're winning games, and coaching has nothing to do with it. I think it's really, just it's not right. Let's say that
I'll
it's
say for
not giving
defense,
due
the coaching
respect.
is, but the offense, I'm still not sold. I'm not sold on the coaching. I'm not saying Kellen Moore is doing bad. I just think there needs to be a little bit more, um, a little bit different play calling. Add a little bit, and
Hmm.
maybe he's only doing it to Jalen's ability, which we don't know. We're on this side of it, but I just when I look at Josh Allen. I know we all compare to KC and Andy Reid's play and his styling and having some fun and doing some trick plays and everything. But I just there's no diversion. There's no just I guess I want a little more I
I
fun
know
on
what you're
it.
saying.
Yeah.
Creativity.
Yeah, there you go. That's the word I'm looking for. I just don't want the plain vanilla stuff. But defense, yes, coaching is great. I don't want to say they're the talents. Let's just center it upon that it's just offense, and that I'm still not sold on it.
Yeah, I'd agree with you on that one. Whereas we came into the season, we thought the offense was going to be carrying them throughout, every game. I think what you're seeing is a shift in the team where the defense is going to carry the offense, which is fine. But I think that the offense is an evolution. You're seeing a lot more under center for Hertz. And mainly what we just need to see is we need to see progression. And I think since the bye, they've identified that they are going to be a run first offense, which is good. And I know it's a passing league and all the things are made for passing, but if you have this offensive line and you have an elite running back like you have, then why the hell wouldn't you be a running team? So I agree.
Yep.
But I feel like you said, I feel like they're not there offensively, but I also feel like if the run is shut down, if we get into December and January and the run is shut down for whatever reason, I do feel that this can become a passing team. But we're going to have to see a lot more progression from Jalen and, like you said, more creative play calling. It's not going to be so vanilla.
The defenses are figuring out Jalen, and that's the problem. They know he's holding the ball too long. They know the play takes too long to develop, and he knows I don't want to say having trouble reading the defense, but he's not reading it completely like you see some of the elites, and everybody looks at some of the other quarterbacks is that they're quick reads, quick out. And I don't mind a, two-step drop and 2 seconds out. And I think that
Hmm.
will help. I do feel that if we looked at some of our stuff that we talked about earlier in the season, and obviously came with the first win out in Brazil, and then as things progressed, we were really very tough on the Eagles. And from the offensive standpoint, is that they weren't good defense as well. Now, if they become a complete team, now defense is there in my opinion. I think it's becoming one of the top defenses out there. If offense can get there, if we can produce quality, I mean, the yards speak for themselves. If you look at the yards flat, 348, that's kind of average, but we've been going up into like the 400s. But that's at the end of it where we start out slow too much. I think we need to kind of start out hot. And one of the things you mentioned is that it seems that we're getting better and we're adjusting into the second half, which we never did as a team in the past like 2 years.
Yeah, completely agree. But like you said, we need a complete game um, where they start fast, they end fast. So I agree that the team has yet to play a complete game. We've seen instances where like maybe there'll be a complete game for 3 quarters or you know a half or whatever. But so the main thing is last year, and I'll ask you this: last year we were winning, but I think in the back of our minds, we were like, something isn't right. We're not dominating these teams. It just doesn't feel like a win. And this season, I feel like these games are a win. I feel like the team is winning and it's the way that they should be winning, if that makes any sense. It just feels different this year.
I'm not there yet, to be honest with you. I mean, so I think I go into it with the feeling from last year that we should be winning, or we're winning the game and we're about to lose it or turn it over. I mean, look at the Jags game. We almost, and it happened again and
Yeah.
again. Now, did I feel that way in the Dallas game? I think I was waiting for the shoe to drop. I was waiting for them to be like, lose momentum, for Dallas to come back, because that seems to be was the theme last year, where you let the team, and it's been the theme this year. I'm getting there. I mean, the Dallas game definitely helped me, feel for it. Obviously, the Jags game. So I think if I see them progress, I think if I see them come out hot, they don't take the sacks. Hurts needs to stay away from that. The run game gets going, and I feel that we're going to get, third down conversions more often, or at least get first downs in the first two. I think I would feel a lot better for it. I am not there yet. I'm not feeling that we're going to go into it. Our next recording, we're going to be talking about the Commanders and the Redskins. And with that, I want to feel that we're going to go into it and totally dominate the game. Like, I know, hey, we got this, we'll just come out hot, 14, 30 points in the first half. I'm like, man, no team's going to be able to stop us. I mean, even the
Mm.
Skins have the winning record.
Yeah, and I think, like you kind of alluded to, I think what it is last year. Last year has left this sour taste in our mouth, because it was such an epic, historic type of thing. And it's going to be hard for us to get past that as fans, to, see that this team isn't going to collapse. And I think over time it will ease our minds of that.
Yep.
But as of right now, that thought is in the back of your heads. But I think that honestly, if we were to step back and look at this in terms of, last year didn't happen. Let's just say last year didn't happen at all. The collapse didn't happen. I think we'd be looking at this season a little differently, only because we wouldn't be waiting for that shoe to drop. We wouldn't be waiting for the team to collapse. Because I'm with you. There were times, not during the Dallas game. I thought that from start to finish, it was going to be a snoozer. Um, but there were times during other games like the Jags and everything, I kept waiting for the defense to just completely disintegrate.
Yep.
And luckily they didn't do that. But, I think as time goes on, it will restore our confidence. Now they got a big game on Thursday. They have some big matchups coming up. They got the Rams. They got the Ravens.
I got the
Steelers. So
Steelers. They're hot.
yeah, so the end of the year is going to be. We got a stretch run here that's really going to show what kind of team we actually have, and whether or not they have the mettle to actually go and make a playoff run.
Everybody has to realize that we have pretty much the second half of the year. So, week 10 right now, and it's a lot of division games. So obviously short turnaround time that's happening. They have, finished up here with the Cowgirls. Great team, great domination. Start to finish, definitely looked really good. Short turnaround, Thursday night football happening at the link. Before I wrap things up, Dan, I do like that Kenny Pickett came in the fourth, which felt good that they were resting Jalen, meaning
Mm-hmm.
he only played, 45 minutes of football. Will Shipley out there running 9 attempts, 34 yards. I want to watch this kid go. I think he's going to be a great, either three-headed monster, or if Gainwell doesn't stick around, is going to be a two-headed. I think the more touches he gets, the better off he's going to be. He's got heart.
Yeah, I like him. He's a little small, but I think that he's going to be a good player. Like a Kenny Gainwell, he has that versatility. He just got to prove it in game. He hasn't gotten the chance to prove it,
Yep.
but I agree with you. He's going to be a good little player for us. He'll never be like a number one back, but he'll definitely be a person that can go in there and spell
Yep.
Barkley and not have to worry about, oh crap, we got garbage out there.
Gainwell's perfect. I think we got a three-headed like running back team. If you keep it that way, Gainwell's great to coming in there. When I see him replace Barkley, in fact, a couple of times during the game, I saw that Gainwell was in. I'm like, why didn't they give it? Why is Barkley out for a few seconds? Or like you thought he was injured, but I think he just needed a little bit longer rest before he came in. But you're comfortable seeing Gainwell come in there. And then in the garbage play time, Will Shipley having it. And it's definitely garbage play because the Eagles had that. They had the entire fourth quarter. For me personally, just seeing that, I was like, all right, the garbage time that they're going to be racking up some points. But in fact, Dallas didn't rack up anything. Defense totally still dominated them in the fourth.
Yeah, it just Dallas is a sinking ship, and we just basically went out there and did what we had to. It was good to
Yep.
get a win, divisional game, and I think that I think we can safely assume that it's going to be between us and the Redskins the rest of the way. And
Yep.
Thursday's game is going to really be a good indication as to who is the number one team in this division.
All right, everybody, time to wrap this up. This has been the Philly Fan Radio. I'm your host, Jon Myer, along with Dan Palmieri. And as always, don't forget to hit that like, subscribe, and notify because guess what, Dan?
We're out of here.